if you've watched any of our videos before, you might be a little bit confused right now, because we're going to delve into a roguelike deck builder. Now, that doesn't really seem like the game we usually play or talk about, at least in a positive sense, right, Edward?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's something special about this game, and it's that it's made by the legendary designer Terry Kavanagh.
Also, we have talked about it like 15 times, so I think
Yes, we
it's
have.
not
So
that
maybe it's
surprising,
not that
actually.
big of a
Yeah.
surprise. Yes. But for those of you that don't know, Terry Kavanagh is the fantastic designer behind games like VVV and Super Hexagon, which are quite, what do you want to call them? Like, they're quite arcadey in nature, which is
Yes
very
and no, I
interesting.
think.
What do you mean?
So one thing, so I really, 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 really like Terry Cavanagh's games.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I wish he would explore more is sort of longer games, surprisingly.
Okay.
So Dicey Dungeons is probably like, because Dicey Dungeons is pretty long, right?
Yes.
But basically all of his other games are more like, how should I say this? Like smaller, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I guess VVV is fine as well, right? I'm
Yeah,
thinking Super
VVV.
Hexagon and like basically all the other stuff he's made. Like he likes doing experimental stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is one of the reasons why he's so good at game design, right?
Yeah.
But I guess I would just like to see more, full experiences, I guess, from him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I sort of get what you mean. But anyways, so like, what I mean when I say arcadey or arcade-like is like, if you look at something like Super Hexagon, it's a super hard, super short game, as you said, right? So it's a very short game. Now it becomes quite long because it's super hard, right? So it's only 6 minutes long, but you end up spending several hours on it. But Dicey Dungeons is kind of different, right? Because, as you said, it's a longer form game. It's kind of a roguelike deck builder.
I think though, like his design philosophy is sort of not in, how should I say this? To me, like his philosophy does not really align with arcade design actually at all. He's just good at making
Yeah, I
like
guess.
hard. I wouldn't say hard, but like it's like they're challenging and the gameplay is the focus, right? So in
Yeah.
that sense, it's arcade style, right? But he does a lot of stuff that's very, for a lack of better term, right, modern, which is like you said, Super Hexagon is 6 minutes. Dicey Dungeons is a roguelike, right? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's bad, right? It's just, I don't know. To me, it seems like he doesn't necessarily. How should I say this? Like the punishing part, right? He doesn't really do that much, right? Which I think arcade games do more, right?
Yeah, I kind of get what you mean. Like his games are hard, but they're not very brutal. Maybe is a good way to put
I
it.
guess they're not that frustrating.
Yeah. Yes. That's a pretty good way to put it. But anyways, one thing I wanted to I guess what I wanted to start talking about with this game is, although we've already talked for a bit now, but is that I'm kind of confused why the game is so well received as it is.
Because it's great.
Yes, it is great. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
But like, the thing is that it sort of seems to not really like fulfill what do you say? Like, it's a very unique game. It's like, it's a roguelike deck builder technically, but it's very different from other roguelike deck builders. It's not a synergy builder or a stats like or whatever you want to call it. It's not like what's it called? Like Vampire Survivors, where you're just like stacking the modifiers until you get the OP build and then you win. So like, I don't know. I just think it's kind of weird that like. Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Where it's
I
like,
mean, I think it is partly because the thing, like we just talked about, where it's like it's sort of a bit modern, right? In that,
yeah,
or like not, like it doesn't have that aspect that people perceive as archaic in quotation marks, right?
mm-hmm.
But it's still, pretty. I think like okay, if we compare it to other games that are popular that are hard in quotation marks, Celeste for example, right?
Yeah.
And I think that short form. I guess this is a roguelike, but I'm thinking more in general of these games, right? For example, Super Hexagon, which is really short,
Mm-hmm.
right? That style where it's like it's not run based, right? I mean, it's a roguelike run, I guess. But there's sort of this overarching thing, right, in Dicey Dungeons as well.
Yeah.
And I think people are, how should I say this? People are more receptive, I think, to that format, right?
Yeah,
and so they play it and then they enjoy it, right?
Yeah. So you mean that is kind of checkpoint based then?
Yeah, I mean it is a roguelike. So
yeah.
But like Super
No, but I
Hexagon,
get what you're saying.
you have you have the 6 minutes, right? But you don't have to do them all the 6 minutes at once, right?
Yeah, it's 1 minute at a time.
And you could argue that would be an interesting thing for him to have in that game, right? Where it's like you need to beat all of them or something, right? Potentially, I'm not, right? But he's going for more of that, like the parts, and then you like, yeah, sort of the checkpoint style, exactly like you said,
yeah. Well, maybe we can go in a bit into the structure then, because like it is a roguelike, but it's not a rogue-lite, to be very specific to anyone listening. So there's no meta progression stuff, but there are like sort of levels that you unlock that are semi-randomized. So you have 6 characters in the game, spoiler alert, because there's only 5 at the start. And at first you only have like a standard run, like a standard roguelike run, very generic.
Yeah.
But then every character has like 6, or well, it's the first initial run, and then there's like 6, I think they're called bonus episodes, which are basically runs with weird modifiers or weird like rule changes or stuff like that.
Gets harder.
Yes. Well, not linearly, but yeah, in general.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting because well, as you say, it's sort of like a checkpoint system in a way, I guess. And I guess that's also one of the big weaknesses with the game, in my opinion, which is that it's like the difficulty is it starts out a bit easy. There's like a very gradual, like when you play the warrior is the first character, right, and then you have the thief. Like playing the first few episodes on the warrior and thief, you're like gonna do it on your first try. At least I did, and you don't really get to the hard stuff until you get to the later characters, like the inventor and the witch, and their later episodes, or whatever you want to call them, which have like weird, crazy modifiers.
Yeah.
So like I think if I had to complain about one thing, it is that the game starts off very, very, very kindly to the player, I guess. Yeah. It takes a while for it to actually get very hard.
I mean, it's not too bad. I think it's like compared to a lot of other stuff, it's still like you can die.
Yes.
In the first level, right, or the first, so it's not like that. I wanna clarify one thing though. You said it's a roguelike, not light. I still take these terms suck, by the way, but I think it's still technically a roguelite, by the way, because is like it needs to be like you grid turn-based.
Ah, okay. Yeah, well,
but I don't care. Who cares? I just otherwise someone's gonna point it out. So.
Yeah. But there's no meta progression. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's sort of interesting because like I think this game would have worked fine as a not roguelike or light or whatever you want to call it. It's like it's very like the random generation of the levels is very
pointless.
Well, not pointless, I would say, but it's not like not very impactful. I guess that means the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's like the thing that changes between the run is like what kind of enemies are there and which boss do you meet, and like it can matter, but most of the time you're gonna be fine either way, or you're gonna lose either way, kind of.
I think you kind of need it a bit though, since it's random, like it's based on your like builds and stuff, right? So
Yeah,
it would be kind of boring if it was static, but
like all the items and stuff. Yeah. So the items are randomized. That's correct.
I mean the enemies as well, right? And, it does matter because some enemies are good against other stuff, right?
Yeah. And I think one thing that's very interesting about the levels is like I think he, like Terry Kavanagh said, that he was very inspired by Dream Quest when he made this game.
Right. Yeah.
And it's very clear, having played that game. I actually played it after I played Dicey Dungeons, because both Dicey Dungeons and Dream Quest does this very interesting thing where it's very important what order you do things.
Yeah.
So after you have like levels for like you'll have your character and then he has levels, and when you level up you gain an extra dice that you can roll during combat, and what's it called? You reset your HP.
Yeah.
And like that's a very, very interesting mechanic, because what ends up happening is that you're kind of planning out the combat and like picking up health packs and whatever, or eating apples or whatever it's called, you want to call it. You're kind of balancing that all the time to make sure that you like level up at the exact right moment so that you regen all your HP and then you can move on to the next battle and so on.
Yeah, that's a really good point actually, yeah. Because like there are games where that matters as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of interesting, right? Because you would, like, if we think back, that's probably just how they ended up coding one RPG at one time, right?
Yeah.
But now, like, sort of like what we mentioned on the latest episode of the podcast, right? Where we talked about like looking at the bigger picture, right? He did not put that mechanic there because RPGs have that mechanic, right? You get your health back when you level up. No, he put it in there. He maybe thought about it like that, like, they do that. And then it's like, that it's kind of interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
We probably thought that, right? That's maybe I can use this in a way, right? I'm not saying he's the first one to do it. There are games that do it, but he does it really well in that game because you like. I don't think you need to play around it in any. I haven't seen the need in any other game, right? But in this game, you literally need to. I mean, someone's gonna argue literally not, but because someone is good gamer or something. But for me, I literally need to care about it, right? Because it's. Well, you do. I mean, I think you don't get enough health. You need to care about it.
Yeah. Like if you just randomly rushed into combat without thinking, you would like die from attrition. Like you would just lose HP until like even if you win the battles, you'll just end up losing too much HP. So you need to be very like specific and particular about the order you do things. And of course, since it's such a good game, there's often like very, very difficult choices to make there. Like in a way, it's like, oh, if I go for this enemy, then I will like unblock the path so that I can access about a bunch of healing items and other things like that. But this guy is higher level, so he might be more dangerous. Or this guy is a more dangerous guy, so maybe I should do this guy first and like level up and reset my health. But then, if I level up and reset my health and then I do the hard guy, I'm gonna have even less health for the next fight. And you know, you keep going. It keeps going like that, being like even more deep. Yep. And then on top of that, you also have the what's it called? The like, I forget what it's called. So I'm just gonna call it the ult. So basically, like if you take enough damage, you like fill up an alt bar that lets you do certain abilities. So for example, the warrior, if he activates his alt, he does the same, like he does one move twice. Like he activates the alt and then he does a move and then it happens again. And that also ties into that healing thing, because you can also use that sort of to time with a hard fight or something. So like one thing I'll often do is that if I know I'm gonna level up this fight, I will make sure that I take enough damage to like fill up my alt meter, and then I end the fight. Because then when I start the next fight, my alt meter is already full and I can start with an alt and like instantly kill the other guy.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah, and one thing about that actually is that it might sound like we're contradicting ourselves now, because we're saying, oh, look, you have this meter that, you know, is a meter, right? But one thing it does, which is really interesting, I'm not saying no games does it, right? But I'm just saying, and also, I'm not saying meter can't be good, right? That way, I don't think we've said that anyways, right?
No.
But the
I
thing
think you
is,
very specifically did say the opposite.
Yeah. But the thing that is really smart about this one is it's just damage taken, right? There is no other way to fill it up.
Yeah.
So you can technically make a build around it even, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, you take damage, but you gain your, let's call it alt, I don't remember what it's called, right?
I think it's called like limit break.
Yeah, limit break.
Yeah, that's what it's called, yeah.
Yeah, so it's sort of a recovery mechanic, technically speaking, right? But it's not really.
Well, I would say no, because once again, the same as with like planning for health, I think utilizing that mechanic to its full potential is required to beat the level.
Yeah.
Like especially the harder levels. It's like you need to actively abuse the like ult meter and
I mean you can like
taking
take some damage
at the right
if you know
time.
you're gonna level up or whatever, right? And just gain a limit break and stuff like that.
Yeah, like you need to like make sure that you don't waste it either, right? Because if you just randomly activate it, then you know, like if you activate it at the end of the fight, then you're gonna waste it when you could have used it at the beginning of the next fight where you did more damage.
Yeah.
And so I definitely think that it's like it's not a recovery mechanic. It's like you actually need to strategize around it.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so good. And I feel like this ties back sort of to what I was talking about with like how it's very different from other roguelikes or roguelites, like deck builders in particular, which is that in roguelites and roguelike deck builders, it's very rare that you have to care about like very specific numbers or like individual actions or like you don't need to be very careful. It's like get a good build and then just like follow a general strat and then it works. But Dicey Dungeons is very, very like you need to like think 5 steps ahead and like consider all the options and consider all the consequences if you pick a certain option, because like every move matters, which is like so rare in games like this.
Yeah.
It almost feels yes, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it actually ties into the episode where we discussed board games, right? This game does that stuff really well, which is you could basically make a board game out of it, right? The rules are very clear. It's very small, easy to like round, like the numbers are easy to calculate, right?
Yeah.
Which actually is another thing that I find really interesting that we did discuss in our latest episode, but ties into it, which is that people really like big numbers.
Yeah.
And the argument is that big numbers feel nice. But big numbers are not nice to calculate. So I don't like big numbers, actually.
Yeah.
And so I really like the approach. And we talked about Fire Emblem then as well. Fire Emblem and Dicey Dungeons have this in common, where the numbers are small. Like the biggest number you can have in... I don't know what the biggest in Dicey Dungeon is, but like in Fire Emblem, it's like 99, right? And I think it's the same in Dicey Dungeons. Maybe there's something with more than 99. I don't think so. Maybe like some boss or something.
Yeah, there's like I think there's counters that have like several hundred
Yeah.
required, but like it's still very easy to
Yeah.
calculate.
The point is that like damage and health is in the tens,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And that matters a lot. I don't know. I mean, I just said why, but I still kind of don't get why people want the numbers to be that big, because it's not interesting that your character is doing 1,105,36 damage, right?
No.
Good luck calculating anything with that.
Yeah. Or like stacking 50 bajillion modifiers.
Yeah.
No, it's like the abilities in Dicey Dungeons are very simple. It's like, oh, you do X amount of damage, and if it's a 6, you add fire to the attack or whatever, and like that's it.
Yeah, and another
then
thing
you're
people
like-
don't think about is that if you have small numbers, rounding matters more. So like, or like percentages matter more, right? So it's like if you have something that gives you a percentage, like your numbers will, the steps are smaller, right? So the numbers will round, like the numbers rounding up, for example, will make a bigger difference, or down. Do you get kind of what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like if it's 100, like let's say you do 5%. No, that's a too even number. Yeah, no, well that kind of works. 5% more damage on 100, then you're gonna do 105 damage, right? But if it's on 10, you can't. So it's either 11 or 10, right? Depending on if the thing rounds up or down.
Yeah.
And that's actually more interesting, because then it matters how you stack your RNGs, right?
Well, I guess sort of to counter your point a little bit, like
Okay.
I do kind of agree with it, but I would say one of the things that makes Dicey Dungeons very elegant is that it lacks that sort of like 5% bonus to this or whatever. Like the modifiers and bonuses and percentage chances or whatever you want to call them are very...
Yeah, they're dice oriented. So
yeah, exactly.
It's 1 in 6
like,
and stuff like that.
So for example, you know, the warrior has his like basic ability is that he rerolls a dice. And obviously that's like, okay, I have 1 in 6 chance to get any dice. Like, so it's very much like that. It's not like, oh, if I do this and then this, I stack a 5% modifier and then a 2% modifier and then a 10% modifier. Like, it's very much, oh, it's 1/6 or it's half or it's whatever, you know.
Yeah, but when you round again, I don't, like if you have something, for example, then that's gonna matter more if the number is smaller, for example.
Yes. And I believe you do have, I don't remember how Dicey Dungeon resolves this actually, but you can, for example, like you have an ability. Oh yeah, I remember what it does now. It's like split the dice in 2.
Yeah, exactly, stuff like that, and then you the rounding matters, right?
Well, Dicey Dungeons doesn't round it. It like so like if you split 5,
I
you
see.
get a 2 and a 3.
2 and 3, yeah.
Yeah. Which is also interesting.
Yeah.
Which maybe we'll get into later. But there was one thing I wanted to talk about before we got into all this, which is kind of related actually, and that's that all of these things that we've been talking about now makes the game feel very much like a puzzle game almost, I would say. Very similar to Into the Breach.
I mean, I would say it's a strategy game in that.
Yes, but it feels like a very how do you say this? Because like Into the Breach, the thing about Into the Breach is that there's like no RNG, so you can kind of, you know, calculate the optimal move, right?
Yeah.
And it feels like Dicey Dungeons is very much like that, except instead of calculating the optimal move, you're like running the numbers in your head and like trying to like figure out the probability of your perfect move actually working, and like if the probability is high enough, then you do it, right?
Yeah. I still don't like calling that puzzle game, because the problem with doing that is you could argue a lot of things are puzzle games that aren't puzzle games.
Yeah.
Like you could say like a shmup is a puzzle game or something, because it's a puzzle about how you should move around the bullets to not get hit or something, right?
Yeah. Well,
in
yeah,
a
I
way.
agree. It isn't a puzzle game. It just feels puzzle gamey.
Yeah.
Is what what I'm trying to say. And I actually want to like make a parallel here to another game that we praise a lot, which we'll probably have to make an episode about someday, which is Blood Bowl.
Oh.
Because both of these games, Dicey Dungeons and Blood Bowl, have two things in common, which is that they have a lot of RNG, and they are both a lot skill based. No, they are both very skill based.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting because, you know, the what do you call it? Like, people always complain about RNG and like, oh, it's not skill based, whatever, you know. Which, you know, you should check out our video on RNG. I don't remember which number it is, but it's very good.
It's an old one.
Yes. But anyway, so like my point is that it's very skill based because everything, like the gameplay is about manipulating the RNG.
Yes.
And so, for example, as I've already mentioned, you'll have abilities like the warrior reroll, which rerolls a dice, or you'll have an ability which splits the dice, as I said. So if you have a 5, you get a 2 and a 3. Then you also have abilities that like flip a die. So like that's actually very interesting because it's like based on something like physical in real life or whatever you want to call it. So like, you know, the opposite sides of a die always add up to 7, right? So if you have a 1 and you flip it, you get a 6. And like the game utilizes that kind of real life quirk thing, whatever you want to call it. And so like you have an ability that can flip the die. So if you have a 1, you get a 6.
Yes.
And the thing that's very interesting about the game, or well, there are several things, but one thing like in relation to this is that sort of the builds aren't very complicated, but there is a lot of depth in them because you need to balance between like dice manipulation and actual abilities.
Yeah.
So like I think I recorded some gameplay for this video. I think in the gameplay you'll see that I have a build where okay, now I need to take a step back. So I played the final hard mode level of the warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And in the final hard mode level for every character, you have like random modifiers on every floor, right?
Yes.
And one of the random modifiers was that I got one of my dice every turn would freeze. That was one of the random modifiers. So like the first dice I roll every turn would become a 1 because that's what freeze means. It becomes a 1. And then I had an ability that required a 6. And then I found an ability that flips the dice.
Right.
And so because of the random modifier that I always roll a 1 on my, like, I always roll at least 1, then I could use the flip thing to always have a guaranteed 6 so that I could always guaranteed use the ability which required a 6.
Yeah.
And like the actual abilities that do damage aren't usually very like complicated or whatever you want to call it. It's like trying to find that synergy or balance between like, okay, I need to make sure that I get the dice I need, but I also need to make sure that I have enough damage because I have limited slots for abilities.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of thing is very, very interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you can in that case you can take it even one step further, right? Because you can sort of what you said about puzzle, but not really. It's like a math thing, right? Where it's not about getting the build that does the most damage. It's sifting through the RNG to find a build that does more damage than you take, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that means. Like, it could be a build that just does a ton of damage and kills the opponent fast, but it could also be a build that's like super tanky, right?
Yeah. I think that's actually very interesting that you bring that up, because I think that in particular depends a lot on the character you choose.
Yeah, sure.
So like the warrior, for example, is very straightforward, right? He has abilities that do a lot of damage. That's kind of his thing. And
you
like
have
he's
like
very
shields
straightforward.
and stuff, so you could technically
yeah,
do something
true,
with that.
true.
I think you could do something if you wanted to.
Yes, I think you can do like attacking with your shield and stuff.
Yeah.
and you can do poison builds as well. But like basically the way the warrior works is that he does a lot of damage somehow. And then you have the thief, which like his thing is that he has a lot of attacks. So like you'll have poison attacks that you can use several times per turn, and so you just spam a bunch of dice, and then you spam a bunch of poison attacks, and the enemy gets poisoned and dies. But then you have some of the more like weird characters, and my favorite is the robot. I'm very partial to the robot for some reason, and his like character mechanic, or whatever you want to call it, is that instead of rolling dice, he like plays blackjack to get dice. So you select how many dice you roll, and if you roll more than 21, you like end your turn. So it's very much a like risk reward mechanic. So it's like, okay, I roll now. Oh, I have maybe 17 in total, right? I've rolled 17 in total. If I roll one more, I might get more than 21, but I might also get less, and so like there's risk reward in that.
And remind me, it's what does it do when it goes over?
It destroys the dice or whatever. Like you can't play after that. Your turn is over, basically.
Right, so you need to play all your stuff beforehand, right?
Well, that's the thing. I was actually going to get into that, so that's very interesting that you brought it up. Because what ends up happening is that if you play as the robot, you can kind of like, you can roll a few dice, and then you can like use them and see if you can do something good with them. And then after that, you can like keep rolling, like, because like the risk is over, right? So like if you roll a good dice and you use that on your best ability, then you can kind of be a bit more risky with your rolling, because it doesn't matter if you forfeit the rest of your turn, right? So there's a lot of interesting stuff there. And then of course there are abilities that manipulate this. So if you get exactly 21, you'll also get like a bonus where you do a bit more extra damage, or you I think you get like, you can reuse an ability, or you get some health or stuff like that if you get exactly 21. But then there are cards that actually like manipulate this. So like I think you can go slightly below or slightly over or something like that, and stuff like that. So he's a very interesting character. And then there is the witch, which is, it's not my favorite character, but it is kind of the most interesting character. And the thing that I find interesting about the witch is that the witch is incredibly bad. She is absolutely atrocious. She sucks. And like, if you look at people talk about the game, they're like, why is the witch so hard? The witch is so hard, she's so bad, she sucks, I hate the witch, whatever. Except she's like the only character in the game that can get actually broken builds. So it's like, if you don't have a broken build, the witch is completely incompetent and sucks. But if you have a broken build, you have a broken build. And I think I mentioned this in like our episode about RNG, because we talked a bit about Dicey Dungeons there. It's like I had some build that like synergized in a really weird way. So like I could force all of the enemies, like I could freeze all of the enemies' dice so that they turned into ones. And then I had an ability that like locked all the ones the enemy had.
Right.
Or well, sorry, I had an ability that locked all of the numbers of a select... Okay, this is getting complicated. So it locked all of the numbers of a certain dice that I selected. So I needed to have a 1 every turn to like lock that one. And then like the enemy literally couldn't do anything because all of the dice were locked, which locked means that they can't use the dice. And so I could literally just play infinitely, and the enemy couldn't do anything. Like they were completely unable to act. Which you can't really do with the other characters. Just that's sort of a common thing in a lot of roguelikes, right? That you have some broken build where like you completely like stop the enemy from acting or whatever, or you have an infinite turn or whatever. But it's only really the witch that can do that. And I guess that's sort of the point with the witch. It's that she kind of sucks unless you do something like that.
Yeah, I guess they're like, I think you can get pretty broken builds on some of the others, but it's not.
Yeah.
The thing that's done so well, I guess, in that game is that the RNG is very dependent on it, right? Or like you need to really, really understand the stuff to get the broken build. Is what I'm saying, right? You can't just play the game and like, oh look, my build is broken, right?
Yeah.
You need to actually understand how the different abilities interact to get to that point. It's not just stacking numbers, right?
Yeah. So my witch build, I don't remember what the build was. I'll have to like go back and look at it or whatever. But like, the thing about it is that, you know, it's not like, okay, I have this OP build, now I automatically win. It's like, I still have to do all of that, like, math and statistic, like, risk analysis thinking. And, like, make sure that I do everything in the correct order. Because if I don't, I kind of break the chain, and then the enemy can start attacking me again, and then I'm fucked.
Well, you also need to know a bunch of stuff, right? You need to know that, right, I can, yes, of course, you know that if you lock, you can lock once or whatever, but you need to make the connections, right? Oh, if I turn them into ones, that means that the lock thing works on one. So if I have another thing that makes sure I can get a 1, then I can lock all the ones, which means they can't do anything, right?
Yeah. But yeah, like that's true. But the point I want to make is that even if you have a broken build, you'll still
you need to execute that.
You still have to try. Yeah, you have to execute it. That's sort of the thing. It's not just have an OP build and then automatically win. It's like if you have an OP build, like in a way, having an OP build is almost harder because the math you need to do is more complicated, right? Or there are more steps to it in a lot of the times. You could probably make a pretty simple OP build, like I've probably missed some very obvious thing or whatever, but like that dice locking build that I did with the witch, that was like I had to do very complicated math like every turn, and not complicated in like you know, in the traditional RPG sense where it's like a billion modifiers, but more like there are a lot of steps to it, and I need to make absolutely sure that I don't do the steps in the wrong order, because if I do, I'm fucked. And that's very interesting, very interesting. Now, there was one more thing in relation to ice that I wanted to talk about, which is the element system. Yeah. So, Dicey Dungeons has an element system, so they have like fire, ice, earth, and electricity or whatever. And what I find very interesting is that they sort of naturally counter each other in a way. Or at least fire and ice. So basically, as I said, you know, if you freeze a dice, it turns into a 1. So if you have an ice attack that freezes the dice of an enemy, then his dice becomes a 1. And the thing about fire attacks is that fire attacks usually, not always, but nearly always, require even numbers to activate. Or like it's like you can use any dice, but it only does fire damage if you have an even dice or if you have a 6 or whatever. And so there's very natural counterplay there, where like fire attacks always need even dice, but ice attacks always make sure you get a 1, so you get an uneven dice. And so like ice naturally counters fire without there being like an explicit like the game says, ice does double damage to fire or whatever. It's like they counter each other through the gameplay, or well, ice counters fire through the gameplay. Or like through the things that are already there, I guess. That being said, though, I just mentioned it's not like ice does double damage to fire or whatever. They still the game still has that, and I'm not really sure why. Like not that ice does double damage to fire, I think, but like you'll have fire enemies that are weak to ice, or you'll have, I think there's like a rat guy who's strong against poison, so he takes half damage from poison and stuff like that. And I don't know, maybe you disagree, but I feel like that kind of isn't needed. Like,
Yeah, no, it's completely. I mean, I shouldn't say completely pointless because it's probably balancing some of the enemies, but I would do
yeah,
it more naturally, I think, considering how the other stuff is done in the game.
yeah, because that's sort of what I was thinking too. Like, you already have this super interesting like natural counter thing, so why add the extra like, oh yeah, you do double damage as well?
Yeah.
It feels, because the thing about it also is that you kind of need to have a build that's good against everything, so it doesn't really matter that you're extra strong or extra weak against certain kinds of enemies. Like, sometimes it does. If you have a bad build, it can matter. It can be like if you have a bad poison build, for example, and you meet the Rat King guy who is strong against poison. I think it's the Rat King. Then yeah, you can get fucked. But like if you have a strong poison build, it doesn't really matter. You'll beat him anyways.
Yeah.
And so it feels kind of, it's not that it's, oh no, it's a super bad mechanic that ruins the game. I just feel like the game would be like 10% more cleanly designed if that wasn't there. But maybe I'm missing something that like makes it actually important and interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it seems, I could be completely wrong, but it seems like it was just there like from the start, and he didn't
Yeah, like it
get
wasn't
around
removed.
to just get rid of it.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
But I don't know. Maybe he liked it.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't. It ends up not mattering so much, so it's fine. And sort of related to the like natural ice and fire counter thing, I think I'm gonna use a word that a phrase or whatever you want to call it, that I am very careful about and that I kind of hate because it's always misused, which is there's like some very interesting emergent gameplay here.
Ooh.
And I think the most famous and epic and cool example is that the thief, who, like, the thief's ability is that he can use the ability, like he can use a random ability of the enemy every turn. Now, if the thief meets an alchemist, the alchemist has an ability that lets the alchemist turn into a bear that will like have strong attacks or whatever. Now, if the thief meets the alchemist, he can steal the transform bear attack, and the thief can actually transform into a bear. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. I don't know if I would call that emergent. Because it's obviously like he thought about that, right?
Yeah.
But it sort of like shows that he cares about the systems, right? It's like, well, I have this enemy and I can still, like, because the natural thing would be to like block the ability or do something boring. But he was like, oh, I guess I'll design another character.
Yeah, exactly. So like, just to be clear, it's not that you turn into a bear for the fight, you turn into a bear for the rest of the run. And like, you're not a thief anymore, you're a bear now. And like,
spoilers.
Yeah, sorry. Kind of mean to spoil that because it's very cool when it happens. But like, yeah, as you said, it's such a nice attention to detail. Because it's like, you play as the thief and then you meet the alchemist and I'm like, oh, what? I can turn into a bear? What? And then you like fill up the counter to become a bear.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what the fuck? I actually became a bear. Yeah. What? Is this even like, no games do this. This is super cool or whatever.
It's sort of this thing where you're making a plan in your head, right? And you sort of know that it's not gonna be as cool as you think, and then it's actually way cooler, which is very rare, right? Because it's like, because you know that it's a game and it can't do everything. You're like, well, it's not gonna be that cool, right? Yeah. But then it's cooler, I guess.
Yeah. But I feel like the game does a lot of that. Like, there's nothing like as big and as cool as the bear or whatever you want to call it. But it's very, like, the attention to detail is there, and like, if there's something that you think might work in a cool way, it often works in that cool way, if not cooler, right? That's sort of the point I want to make. It's like it's a very cool game, and it's very interesting to like experiment with weird stuff. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah. But like, yeah. And then sort of related to that also, I am a very big fan of the enemy design. Not only like in the gameplay sense, but also in the like thematic sense, which we've discussed in the past few episodes a bit. So like, I think our favorite example that we always discuss is the annoying bird,
right?
Which I don't remember exactly. I don't remember exactly what his abilities are, but
no, it's
basically,
right?
Oh yeah, it's something like that, I think. But basically, he doesn't do very much
yes.
damage to you. Yeah, he dodges, I think. But yeah, he doesn't do very much damage. Like, he's not a very dangerous enemy. But all of his abilities are super annoying.
Yeah.
Like and he's called the annoying bird.
Yeah, the fight
and
never ends because you can't.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a bunch of enemies like that are super interesting in that way. Yeah. There's like, is it the Kraken that like hides all the dice, like so you can't see the numbers and you need to like guess and stuff?
Yeah, I think he's should see at you or something.
Yeah. And then of course there's the Alchemist, which has to transform into bear ability and stuff like that.
And then you have the spoiler alert, the Mimic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of interesting. Or I guess not the Mimic, the Rotten Apple, but it's a Mimic as well, I guess.
Well, there's also a Mimic.
Yeah, no, but the Rotten Apple is way more interesting because it's like, I don't remember exactly what, is it like he does a lot of damage or something, right?
Yeah, so he has two abilities, which is the first ability halves your HP, and then the second ability does like 2 or 3 damage, I think.
Yeah, and it's so smart, it's like, because you're going to grab the apple when you're low health, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, you're like, oh, I need health, and then you accidentally grab the rotten apple, and then it's like, it's a fight where he is gonna kill you really fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess not really fast, but you know, it's like, because he's gonna have
if you're low health, he kills you really fast. But also it's kind of bad if you're high health too, because he does half your health in damage or not every turn, because it's like a countdown thing, which like saves between turns and it's pretty long. But like if he does half your health in damage, then it's pretty bad. But the thing about the apple, right, which I don't think we mentioned, is that it looks just like the apple on the like map. And you can actually, I think this is very interesting that he did it that way, because I feel like a lot of people would say that's BS in a way. Because if you hover over an enemy, you'll see their name.
Yeah.
And like if you hover over the apple, the rotten apple, it will say that it's a rotten apple. So like if you actually, if you're careful and you look,
it says that it's combat, right?
Yeah.
But it looks like an apple on the map, and it's the same interact button, so.
Yeah. Well, but also if you're hovering on it over the map, it will say that it's a rotten apple, and it's the same with the Mimic. It will say that it's a Mimic. So like if you're actually careful and make sure to look every time, then you'll know if it's a rotten apple or not. But if you're just like walking around carelessly, then you'll just stumble into a rotten apple attack and you'll lose because you weren't ready for it or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know, I like that because it's like it makes these enemies follow the rules. It's like it's not a special enemy, it's just a normal enemy, and their sprite is just confusing you, right?
Yeah.
There's no special thing going on, it's just an enemy, right?
Nope, yep. It's just an enemy placed on the map. And yeah, it's very much in the theme of, I guess we didn't want to call it emergent gameplay, but kind of that attention to detail thing.
Yeah.
Which so many games lack.
Yeah. But it is also very clear that Terry plays a lot of games.
Yes.
which is another thing we have talked about a lot of times.
Yeah. And it's also a very different game from his other games, which is very interesting.
You
I'm
should
kind
do
of
more
looking
RPG
forward.
style games.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm kind of interested to see what he does next actually, because he released Terry's other games last year, right?
Yeah.
Which was like a collection of all his small games, which you should also check out.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. We've talked about that before too. And then he released his Egg game, which I thought was very interesting as well. It was a very small, like, experimental game, I guess, but it was interesting. So yeah, I'm interested to see what his next big game is, because
For sure.
so far he's going 3 for 3 in the masterpiece category or whatever. And I want to see the 4th masterpiece. I really want to.
Fantastic.
But yeah, do you have anything else you want to say about Dicey Dungeons? Do you have any...
The tutorial is kind of bad, but I mean, okay. We've talked about that before, right?
Yeah.
You have to play it once, or I don't even know if you have to, but like, yeah, it's not. It's one of those bad ones. We've talked about it before. I think we even used it as an example, right?
Yeah.
Where it's sort of rigged in a way, and it's like not teaching you through gameplay, and it's just bad.
Yeah, it's like completely scripted, and like all the rolls are scripted and everything.
Yeah,
so you
do this thing. Oh, look, you rolled a 6. Now you do the thing. Oh wow, look at you. Yeah, it's garbage.
Yeah.
But I'll what do you say? Cut him some slack or whatever you say. What do you say? I don't know English.
Yeah, I think that's a term.
Yeah, someone can correct me in the comments or something. Because like you said, he usually doesn't make games like this, right? So, and so, yeah, and the rest of the game is amazing. So,
yeah, I think as I said before,
it is still better than tutorialization, actually. So,
yes, true.
Because tutorialization is the garbage of the garbage, which we have talked about in the I don't know what episode. Do you remember?
I don't remember what it was called, but it was an episode about like tutorials.
Yeah,
and stuff.
Tutorialization is just unacceptable. It's and it's so dumb because most games, I know we talked about it in that episode, but it's bad because people seem to think, from my experience at least, that it's a good thing, but it's actually terrible.
Yeah.
Because it's wasting a lot of time.
Yeah.
Especially these like. Not that I play this a lot, but these games where it's like, oh, you start out and then it's like, oh, look, you can craft this thing, and then it's like, oh, go here, oh, look, you found the thing you were looking for, oh my god, and it's like part of the game, right? I discuss.
I agree.
Yeah, which is sort of the way the Dicey Dungeons tutorial is, but it's not in the game, so it's not tutorialization, right?
It's very short.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's all we have for today.
Fantastic.
I definitely think if you're listening and you haven't played Dicey Dungeons, even though it's not the kind of game you usually play, you should check it out.
You should just buy all Terry's games because they're good.
Yes.
Yeah.
You should.
And you should buy them on itch because itch is good.
Yes.
And it supports the developers, so buy games on itch when you can. I know you guys, everyone just loves Steam, but think about the developers for once.
You should do it on Epic Games Store.
Also, I mean, technically, you should actually buy it on Epic over Steam because they get more money, but there is other issues with that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the same.
No,
whatever.
No, the split is better. That's why that's why devs want Epic.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, you get a worse product, so. The thing with itch is you don't get a worse product. You just get a DRM-free version, which is technically a better version, right? Yeah. And a lot of the time you also get a Steam key, so why not buy it there, right?
Yeah. I agree. I'm an itch fanboy. Shout out itch.
Also, it's a super great platform for like smaller indies as well, right? Where it's like, really cheap games or like free games and stuff, right? Yeah. I think it's like support those. The guy, or I don't know if I think it's a team that runs it, but like not that many people.
Yeah.
But Steam is also okay, in my opinion.
Yes.
I don't. I'm not the biggest fan of Epic though.
No.
Even though they get more money.
Mm-hmm. Well, as usual, leave a comment, leave a like if you agree or dislike if you disagree, or do the opposite if you feel like it, and subscribe without hitting the bell, please. Also, if you enjoy.
You can hit the bell if you want to.
No, you're not allowed. I forbid you.
Okay.
But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye bye.